All right. Looks like we might be live. Haven't done one of these in a while. Hopefully, I don't screw this thing up. Hit the refresher, make sure it's going live on YouTube. Okay, and it seems that we are live on YouTube. Not sure how many people are going to be joining us for this thing, but I'm going to give it a quick second, get things all situated. I put the image of Godzilla and Kong up on the screen because this is all about Godzilla X Kong, the new empire, speculation of where the third movie could go. I kind of already like recorded something, but like I kind of like just kind of wrote some stuff down of some ideas where I think the next movie could go. But I ultimately kind of wanted to do a live stream discussion on it. So I may kind of take some of this and put it into a separate video at some point, kind of edit it together. But this is kind of speculation of where the third movie could go. I also posted some other recent Godzilla related videos. I talked about the new art book that just came out, which is pretty cool. Deep dive looking into that thing. So yeah, hopefully we get some more people. How's the chat going tonight? Geek Universe, let's go. Okay, we got somebody here in the chat. How you doing, Geek Universe? Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome to the Godzilla Kong, the New Empire 3 or whatever they're going to call the next movie. Because when we had Godzilla versus Kong, we had Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. But the new movie is probably going to be another GXK and then just a new abbreviated like subtitle or whatever right there. I'm sure that's what it's going to be doing. You're doing good. That's fantastic. Like the profile picture. I see that's a Robin. I think is that which Robin is that one? Eating dinner? Yes, dinner is good. I'm going to be eating dinner after this thing. Probably order myself a nice juicy steak or something. I don't know. Like I'm kind of hungry. So, but yeah. Okay. Cool. 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 So I'll just give it another minute. See if anyone else wants to join in. I did send the invite out to a few people. It looks like it's just going to be okay. Yep. I thought so. I definitely thought it was Tim right there. So, but yeah. Okay. Cool. 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 I roll with Tim Drake. Damon's still my favorite, but I still like Tim. But yeah, so that's what's up. I guess I'll give it a minute before other people hoping the next one focus on Godzilla. Yeah, I really hope the next film definitely takes a little bit more focus towards Godzilla. I'm sure it's going to have some Kong focus as well, but I mean, Grant Vittori talked about it, so let's go ahead and talk about where this next one can go. But I guess before I get into that, I'll let everyone know ahead of time who's just jumping in the stream. I will be attending G Fest this year. So I this was coming down to the wire for me if I could make it or not, and I'm going to be able to go. So I will be there from Friday till Sunday. I'm going to be driving in Friday morning, and I'll be there for all 3 days. I think I don't know if I'll be there at all the movie screenings. I know Big Jack Films is screening his thing. I think that's at like 12 or 1. So I'm going to be driving in Friday morning, but it's like when I head over there, it's like an hour time zone difference. So it's like a time like almost like an hour back in time. So we'll see what time I get there in the mornings. I'm gonna wake up and just kind of head to the convention. I also got to check it in and all that stuff. But I will be at G Fest this year. It'll be on a bit more tight of a budget compared to last year. Because I mean, inflation, everything's just really ridiculous, and I have this tendency to overspend at conventions more than I want to. So I'm going to be very cautious about how much I spend there. But I'm more so just going for the panels, just to see everybody, and just kind of have a good time there. I definitely will be going to the GXK screening on Saturday night. That's a definite must for me. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing everyone. It's gonna be a really fun time. So we need Dadzilla. Yes, that is something I've been emphasizing for the past couple of years. I really want to see Godzilla back as a father figure at some point. It has been 20 years since we've gotten it in a live action film. I think it's crazy. My idea for the future would be a Godzilla film followed by a Mothra film and then do a Kong Godzilla film again. That would be pretty cool. But I don't know if they're going to do that necessarily. So, but I mean, that'd be cool. Like I said, the more movies, the better. So I'm actually okay with waiting a few years for the next movie. Take a little bit of a break. We're still going to get Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, and a few other things to kind of fill the gap in between. But you don't always want to rush these things. I want, like 3 years, like that. The 3 years like flew by rather quickly for GXK between GBK and GXK. I mean, they were like quick development on this next movie. And I do appreciate how they don't always leave everything on a cliffhanger. And now there's still some unanswered plot threads within the Monsterverse. The Alan Jonah one still kind of bugs me. I like even just a comic book, like one of the books to just explain him. Cause I know he's not like the major character, but like what happened with that industry? What happened with the Titans and all that? So, but yeah, so I'll go through some of the stuff that I kind of talk like where this next movie could go. So we know like so far, we'll start with GXK and the success that film had. So as of right now, it's considered like the highest grossing film within the Monsterverse which, seeing where like the ending of that one goes and, some other things. I'm hoping we get more new kaijus for the Monsterverse. Yeah, I'm sure we definitely get some more new monsters. So, like, I think that'd be kind of cool. But anyways, so let's speculate on where the next movie could go. So basically, at the end, we'll start kind of with the ending of GXK, and then we'll kind of go from there. So basically, at the end of Godzilla Kong: The New Empire, a huge battle took place, going from the Hollow Earth all the way to Brazil with Godzilla, Kong, Zuko, Mothra, and the now free Chimo having defeated Scar King. Mothra returns to watch over the Iwi tribe. Godzilla finds a new napping spot within the Rome Coliseum. And Kong, having freed these people from their oppressive dictator, has now returned to lead the apes peacefully with Zuko and Shimo by his side. So, as of this recording, like the only things we know so far about the sequel, David Callahan is the guy who's going to be writing the next movie. And it's not like he hasn't worked on the Monsterverse before. He's kind of done some stuff for the 2014 screenplay. I think he even received a story credit for that one. It does make me wonder if the next movie will go a little bit more serious. The other thing we know about the next film is that Adam Wingard is not going to be returning as the director this time around, given his busy schedule, although the door is always open for him to come back and make another movie later on. So instead of Adam Wingard, the next Monsterverse movie is going to be made by Grant Spatore, who directed a movie for Netflix a few years ago called I Am Mother. Oh, let's see this one. Let me just read that. Rom-com is pretty, right? Read that comic and get a comic check. Yeah, the Boy Wonder comic book was pretty good, Geek Universe. It's worth checking out. So, but next to the GXK thing. So, yeah, we know Grant Spatore is going to be directing it. I know on his Instagram, he went ahead and made a post talking about his excitement and being given the chance to direct the next Monsterverse film. He even shared a photo of his son holding some Godzilla and Kong toys, which tells me that both monsters will appear in the follow-up. Plus, based on the comment section of his post, it seems that he's currently in the process of rewatching the entire Godzilla series, which is a good thing. You should familiarize yourself with the IP if you'll be adapting it. So I wish him the best of luck going forward. So that's all we officially know so much. We also know the release date is going to be March 2027, and that's pretty much all we got so far. Grant Spatore is going to be directing it. Dave Callahan's writing the script. Grant's in the process of restudying and revisiting the Godzilla franchise. So Godzilla's back for the next one for sure. I'm sure Kong will as well, because you don't just separate them after they make the most money. Studios just aren't going to do that. So they're going to have to find a means to kind of balance them both out. Hopefully the next film definitely gives Godzilla more to do, because in GXK, Godzilla's just been angry and just supercharging up the whole movie and just on his own little fetch quest. But now that Kong's arc, for the most part, is pretty much complete, like he's found what he's been looking for his whole life. I think, like I said, now they can kind of focus more on Godzilla's character, but you can also do stuff with Kong too. So but I also want to mention before, like Grant was hired as a director, Wingard did talk about in some interviews where he would like to take the series next. I don't know if the next movie will necessarily take what Wingard was planning to do into it, because when you get different creatives involved, there's definitely a shift every time a new director comes on board and wants to kind of tweak the story their way and kind of do their own thing with it as well. That's just been the case with the Monsterverse. I mean, you go from King of the Monsters to GVK. The original like film version of that definitely has changed quite a bit. I know a lot of footage was cut and things were definitely altered and streamlined and trimmed down quite a bit from that original draft and what they originally filmed. I know there was originally an opening on Skull Island. I know Nathan Lind and his whole character had a big differences too. Like he just proposed to his girlfriend, and then she was one of the ones who died, not his brother, as shown in the reshoots. Not sure where all that kind of factored in as well. There was some more deleted footage, which I think we did see some of that in GXK. There was the bit where they showed Gia being rescued as a little girl. I think that was cut footage from GVK. I'm pretty certain that has to be. But I also know the original opening of was on Skull Island in that movie, and there was the whole cave mural thing that they looked and discovered. I mean, you can see that in the art book. And there was more with Ren Shirazawa's character. And I know the original ending was a little bit longer, where it speculated like, hearing a baby Kong or something like that, which would have set up this movie. So let's see more comments. I wonder if they'll have human mechas versus Titans in Hollow Earth. That's one of the things I'm speculating on as well. I'm saying we couldn't see the rest of Adam's vision, but I'm glad we're getting a director who can share their vision on the Monsterverse. Yeah, I'm kind of with you that too. I wanted to see where Adam would go next, because it would have been kind of interesting to have a little trilogy. But he could always come back to do another one later on down the road, maybe a big, huge finale to the Monsterverse. So, but anyway, so like I said, Wingard talked where he wanted to take the series next. I know after heavily focusing on Kong, the last two movies, Wingard did talk about wanting the focus for the next film to be a lot more on Godzilla, hitting more emotional resonance with Godzilla as a character this time around, kind of similar to what he did with Kong in the last two films. He even teased wanting to bring in Godzilla Jr. into the Monsterverse, which I'm all for. We're long overdue, and having Godzilla's son show up in a movie again hasn't happened since Final Wars, and I think it would be great to see how Godzilla's character reacts to his son being in the movie. Plus, now with Kong as a father to Zuko, we could get to see the son of Godzilla and the son of Kong together interacting with one another, which is something we've never actually seen before. You could make it like the Super Sons, but with giant kaiju. And I think that would be really cool. I mean, that would definitely sell and make a lot of money. So hopefully at some point, I want Godzilla's son in there. I want Super Sons, but with giant monsters. I think that would be pretty freaking sweet. I want to see some zillions or more classic Toho monsters fight Kong and Godzilla. Yes, definitely want to get aliens. I mean, we'll talk about some of that stuff in a second. So, now, Wingard had spoken before about where he wanted to take the next storyline and even hinted at a few things. But since he's no longer involved as a director, they could be going in a very different direction from what he had visioned. So Godzilla Kong did leave things pretty open for where to explore the series in a lot of different directions. So I want to take this next part to kind of go over some potential ideas where we can see the next movie go. I guess first we'll talk about Kong. Basically, at the end of GXK, Kong became king and freed his people. So I can imagine that the next movie would have a lot of focus with him as the new leader of the apes, as well as him being sort of a father figure to Zuko. Perhaps even finds like Mrs. Kong or Lady Kong, similar to good old-fashioned King Kong Lives, which is the worst King Kong live-action film made. I mean, the worst King Kong movie, that's tricky. It might be Mighty Kong if you count that one as well. That's not a very good movie. I should probably talk about Mighty Kong, because when I did like Kong Week, I didn't talk about Mighty Kong or the other two animated King Kong films that were released. Kong Something in the Jungle, Kong whatever, based on the animated TV show. I got to talk about those two movies at some point because, well, Mighty Kong is not very good, and neither are those two other films. But they'd be interesting to discuss at some point. So. But yeah, where are we at? So Kong, like I said, we could maybe find a Mrs. Kong, although I don't know if he really will at this point. I know Scar King was kind of like, we saw him have his harem chamber. I don't know if Kong would like want to have. I don't know if like that'll happen at some point, because Kong is a very caring and loving creature in these movies. Like, he's very protective of others. Maybe he finds what he's been alone his whole life. He doesn't really know how to be like a romantic ape or something. I don't know. I don't know how it all works with him, but who knows? Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't. They'll just kind of keep him as this, loving protector. And, Kong's been so great in the Monsterverse. I think in terms of characterization, he's been given the best he's ever been. So anyway, so with Kong there, another plot point I can see explored is the government. So based on the ending of the last movie and some of the teases within that about, Monarch is in control of Hollow Earth and all that. So another plot point I could see being explored is the government's attempt to take over Hollow Earth. So as of right now, Monarch is in charge of things, but given all the stuff that just happened in Rio, and with all these various Titan attacks, I imagine they're not going to be too pleased with Monarch and want to take over Hollow Earth, not only to destroy the Titans, but there's also a lot of open space down there, and it's packed with a ton of resources. Perhaps with governments trying to invade it, puts it in this conflict with Kong and the other great apes, with them invading their territory. Given how Kong has been protected with some people beforehand, it would be interesting to see him try to act as a leader who has to deal with various conflicts, such as potential Hollow Earth invasion from humans. So, like, kind of like similar to what Caesar went through in the recent Planet of the Apes trilogy, where Caesar was raised by humans. So he does have a love of people, but he also really loves the apes. So he's put into conflict with like another ape like Koba, who hated humans given all the experimentation done on him. Now, Kong is obviously protective of Gia and the Iwi tribe, and it's not like he hasn't killed people before. Like, when he sees bad people, he's going to take out the bad guys, but he's also protective of the people he cares for, who have kind of looked out for him this whole time. So it'd be interesting to see how he reacts to a potential human invasion. Maybe Monarch is there just trying to thwart things like, look, there's these animals here. They're just kind of living in this territory. We need to kind of protect them. But then you also have the different world governments who are fed up with the Titans and all the different stuff going on at the surface and all the crazy stuff there. So, I mean, that could be something worth exploring for sure. So, but anyway, so the next thing the series could explore is the creation of man. So like I said, the various Hollow Earth potential invasions there with Kong and all that, I think would make for an interesting follow-up film. So the next thing the series could explore is the creation of man-made titans. I think after getting a bunch of ancient rivals to both challenge Godzilla and Kong in these movies, I think it's time for them to face off against some opponents that are not really ancient rivals to them. I think King of the Monsters did do a lot of setup for future installments, and so far the series hasn't explored a lot of these ideas. There was the whole dealing with Titan DNA that was mentioned in King of the Monsters. Perhaps this Titan DNA is used to create something like a Biollante, or maybe the fall of the Oxygen Destroyer in King of the Monsters can be explored with the arrival of Destroya. I think that would be cool to see. The other thing that would be is the alien invasion angle. There were a lot of Easter eggs in this film, as well as past Monsterverse films, that hinted at aliens being brought in as a future threat. The biggest ones in GXK were on Bernie's podcast listings. If you pause it when the first time we go to his room, you can see the list of episodes. And there are two big mentions that confirm the existence of Planet X in the Monsterverse, which means that the Exilians or some other alien race could be on the way. Also, one of the episodes references Madison Russell and talks about a moon-based theory. So the films were definitely hinting at some sort of space-related adventure happening in the series at some point. We already have Ghidorah, who was confirmed to be an alien appearing in this universe, so extraterrestrial life does already exist in this series, but was Ghidorah really all that is out there? I don't think so. I think there's more to come for sure with the whole alien invasion angle. In fact, at the very last page of the Art of Godzilla X Kong book, it mentions like where you could see the series go, and it heavily hints towards extraterrestrial life. It's like Wingard's like, look at all the Easter eggs at Bernie's room, and the big Easter eggs are the Planet X ones. And even if you look at the Godzilla vs. Kong Art of book, the last page of that book as well talks about how the extraterrestrial angle is basically a ticking time bomb for the Monsterverse. I do find that interesting how the last two films, or like at least the last two official art books, where the making of the films hint at the extraterrestrial angle being a factor. So now that we've kind of explored more of Hollow Earth, there's still more they could do with it. But aliens are definitely on the way at some point, whether it'll be in the next movie or a potential film after that. So speaking of like the next movie, I also don't think the next movie will necessarily be the last one either. I think that we have at least two more movies out of the series. If it were up to me, I think the next movie should definitely focus on the fallout of GXK, with the government trying to take over Hollow Earth and putting the humans into conflict with the Titans, including Kong species. We'd follow up one of the plot points from Godzilla King of the Monsters, where humans have been gathering DNA from various Titans and use this to unleash a man-made Titan that almost acts like a virus of sorts, targeting other Titans, perhaps something like a Destroya or a Biollante. I want to see a monster, and this is thing, like, I really liked, the last movie with Scar King and all that. I thought he was very charismatic as a villain, was packed with personality, but Scar King didn't really feel like a huge threat in the vein of a Ghidorah or a Mechagodzilla. He was the smartest Titan villain, and the scary thing about him is his will and control over other monsters. But as a threat himself, he's not really like as intimidating. Like Kong was clearly stronger than him and all that stuff. But with the next villain, I want to see a monster that invokes a sense of dread whenever it is on screen. Something that is a believable threat that could seriously challenge both Godzilla and Kong. Let's see this thing attack humans and even Kong's fellow apes where it kills almost for sport. Like, think like the Indominus Rex in the first Jurassic World. Something that just wants to kill everything in its path and cause tremendous amounts of pain. But also in this movie, I want to see baby Godzilla finally make an appearance. Perhaps with a more Godzilla-focused story, we can see a conflict within him where he's torn between his duties as the planet's protector versus him being a father. Maybe with this new Titan going around killing other Titans and attacking civilization, Godzilla doesn't seem to care as much since it's eliminating what he perceives as potential threats. Why should he help humanity and these other monsters after all they've done to him, given what would happen earlier on in the film with humans invading Hollow Earth and going to war with the Titans? I also think that with Godzilla's son appearing in this movie, you could distinguish his son from him and his dad by having, Godzilla Jr. actually like humans, and maybe he also befriends Zuko because, I want my kaiju super sons. Perhaps instead of a pep talk from Mothra this time around, Godzilla becomes inspired by his son's actions to go help Zuko and the other great apes fight off this new villain, even after all the humans have done to him and the Titans, because it is the right thing to do. I also want to see some flashbacks at some point to Godzilla's past. I feel like we haven't really explored his character as much as we potentially could, because he feels kind of like Godzilla kind of, I think, knows he's basically the last of his kind. At least at this point, he's kind of come to terms with that, and he's basically just trying to survive at this point. So I'm just kind of throwing out some ideas of where I'd like to see the next movie go. But after GXK 3, I think after the whole human creation of Titans and invasion of Hollow Earth, I think I'd probably make the movie after that the big finale to the Monsterverse. Movie 7 would basically be getting a little bit bleak at the beginning. The humans and Titans are in kind of a vulnerable state after what went down in, movie 6. This is all theoretical ideas of just in the top of my head, and everyone is kind of left wondering if coexistence will ever be possible again. That's when you bring in the outside threat of aliens invading to take over Earth, and it's up to humanity and the Titans to set aside their differences and work together or face their extinction. There's more to it, but I'm just kind of throwing out some ideas of where I kind of like to see the next movie go. I think the next movie, definitely humans invading Hollow Earth and creating man-made Titans to face the Titans that are already there. I like the idea of humanity creating a Destroya type monster that's basically like a virus of sorts that that targets Titans, but then it kind of goes crazy and then starts targeting humans again. So they've unleashed something to kind of get rid of one problem, but then they're left with another problem that just wants to exterminate everything on the planet. And Godzilla has to kind of step up, but he's also kind of torn in this theoretical movie where he's like watching over his son versus kind of his duties, because he finally found another of his kind. And maybe we could explore, like, the beginning of the movie would be like Godzilla's past in ancient times, because there's so much mystery and intrigue with Godzilla's character. Like, why is he, of all the monsters, basically the protector of the surface Earth and all these other threats and trying to keep the world separate? Maybe he has his own little tragic backstory, because humans did worship him. He did have his home and he did live in coexistence, but you had the Great Titan Wars spawned by the Scar King. Maybe that's what kind of wiped out most of his kind, and he saw kind of all this stuff, and he kind of had to step up and kind of keep things in check from like potential threats, or things like Ghidorah and all that potentially could have wiped out more of his species, or the Mutos or stuff like that. I want to see a young Godzilla like in some sort of flashback at some point. I think that would be really cool. So yeah, I think those are some ideas where I'd like to see the next movie go. I too want Kaiju Super Sons. Yes, Kaiju Super Sons would be merchandise selling machines. And I know with the last movie, it was definitely more of a toy commercial than the previous one, but it was sincere in its stuff. They're just like, let's give Kong a power glove because it's cool and because it sounds awesome. But it feels like sincere. They're not really winking at the audience. Like, they genuinely just like, no. Kong's going to have this. We're going to tell a lot of the story non-verbally, and we're just going to roll with it. And I respect it. I heavily respect kind of like what they went balls to the wall wacky with this last movie. You get the sense that Wingard made this for his child self. And that mentality really kind of works for like what they were going with GXK. Now, I do think the next movie needs to have be a little bit heavier. There's a lot of things that they kind of brush aside, even at kind of the end of that movie. Batman, Robin in a good way. Yes. When they're running together, I just felt like the ending of the Schumacher films were like stuff kind of like that. So, but yeah, so those are basically some of my ideas of where I'd kind of like to see the next movie go. Godzilla, I want to see Godzilla Jr. In terms of potential big bad villains, some speculation. I think the next movie should go humans wanting to take out the Titans after what happens, and then the movie after that should be the alien invasion angle, after everyone's kind of divided and humanity and the Titans are kind of on really bad terms. But then they eventually have to kind of band together to stop this threat, or they all face extinction. I think that would be kind of the way to go. That's when true coexistence, like, it kind of goes full circle, right? Because in ancient times in the Monsterverse, it was showcased that humanity fully coexisted with these various Titans, and then people became like greedy for power, and it all just kind of didn't really end so well for all of them, and eventually everything kind of got separated too. But this is kind of everything coming full circle at this point, and kind of back to where things used to be, and humans and Titans will eventually just kind of have to learn to truly coexist. And I know that's been something they've been trying to do, and you also have kind of the good and bad sides of humanity, and even kind of the monsters as well, with something like a Scar King. But I feel like just kind of that bond. There's some animals are still going to be fully animalistic, but there's also the ones that are a little bit more intelligent and kind of benevolent. Like, Godzilla is just kind of like this wise old samurai at this point. He attacks when he feels like he kind of has to. He's been a little bit angry and selfish, but now that Mothra's back into the picture, he's a lot more calm. You saw the difference immediately when you saw her, and then he like kind of telepathically, I guess, communicated with Gia. And isn't that cool that Gia is like the first human to really communicate with both Godzilla and Kong at the same time in that capacity? I think that's pretty neat. So yeah. All right. So what chat? What do you think the next movie should be? Like, do you expect a more serious film where we'll still have some of the campier elements of GXK? Also, what would you like to see in the next movie? Like, just kind of let me in the comment section. Like, what monster do you want to see next? Where do you speculate it's going to go from there? Do you think it will be the last movie? Do you think it's the next movie is either going to be Aliens or is it going to be the human invasion of Hollow Earth, or maybe it'll be a combination of both? So, I mean, if it were up to me, I'd make the third phase leads to Destroya. Let's see. I personally think the Monsterverse should go set of phase like MCU. The first phase leads to the two Alpha Clash. The second phase leads up to Aliens. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of technically in phase two, Eric, with the stuff going on right now, because we have Monarch Legacy of Monsters kind of exploring a little bit more of the backstory and history of that. GXK kind of explored a little bit more of the origins of like this Great War. I wish it would have gone more in detail. I would have loved a flashback to this ancient Titan War, which is something I've been wanting since the first movie, or since they've kind of teased it in GVK. Like, let's see a flashback to all this stuff. How you doing, Tevye? Good to see you. Third phase leads to Destroya. I expect a bunch of balance of serious and fun stuff. Yeah, they're still going to keep some of the fun elements to it, but there needs to be a little bit heavier set of weight, I think, to the next movie. Alice, the end is near. Oh, just talking. Well, Tevye, we've been going live for like 20-something minutes talking about the next Monsterverse movie and where I could expect it to go. And this is just specifically GXK3 or whatever they end up calling it. I know we're still going to get Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2, which is going to be filming, actually start filming this month. Apple TV can go, like Apple TV is also going to do another spinoff. I heard something rumored about like cryptozoology. And I heard rumors of like a third spinoff TV show set in the Monsterverse. I'd also like a follow-up to the Skull Island like animation series, like season 1. Let's get season 2 and wrap that story up, because I hate cliffhangers and everything left ambiguous. What heavy stuff can we go with Kong in the Monsterverse, because Godzilla seems more heavy stuff? Well, I just meant in general, Tevye, like feel kind of the weight and gravitas of some of the stuff going on. Like really feel like the sense of, like, because GXK was more so like a fun popcorn movie, just kind of was like, okay, let's just have a fun, good time and just really entertain the audience. I love if the next film had Gigan being trapped in Hollow Earth. He'd then escape and try to terraform the Earth, but is stopped by Godzilla. I like that idea, but I feel like extraterrestrial should be like Gigan could be one of those, but that, that's kind of an idea. I mean, Final Wars kind of had him trapped in there. Maybe he was like fell thousands of years ago or something. I feel like the big final bad in the Monsterverse. I know a lot of people want Destroyer to be the big final bad. I'd go with Space Godzilla. I think Space Godzilla is basically the anti-Godzilla, kind of like how Scar King was the anti-Kong. I think would be really cool. I know some speculate Godzilla is the monster that ate a star and gained all this power, but like Space Godzilla, I think I read a comment where it was like Space Godzilla could be formed of like a black hole and basically manifested in space, or maybe like an alien race controls him or something. Yeah, Mothra back was great. I know originally they had another monster named Phosphor in there or something like that, but I guess they originally wanted Mothra, but they weren't sure if they got the rights. But ultimately, it was Mothra. But I think, in my opinion, I know people like Destroya as a big final bad because of Godzilla vs. Destroya, but I think Destroya should be maybe used for the next movie as kind of this really big, serious threat. But for the final boss of the Monsterverse, I would go Space Godzilla. I think Space Godzilla has more crazy abilities. I think if you're doing the alien invasion angle, that should be saved for last. Like I said, my idea would just kind of be a 2-film kind of like story arc, with the next film being humans invading Hollow Earth, basically creating man-made titans, deal with the fall to King of the Monsters with the Titan DNA being utilized to create something, or the fall to the weapons that we've used, and just go all around just insane with it all. Now, that's my ranking for the Monsterverse. I like all the movies, but some are better than others. G14, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla King of the Monsters, GVK, and GXK. Solid choices. My favorite in the Monsterverse is still King of the Monsters, personally. After that, it's kind of tough to say. I like GXK more than GVK, but I also really like Kong Skull Island, and I like Godzilla 2014 as well. But I feel like I watched GVK, like GVK and GXK are a little bit more like fun, upbeat type movies, but there's still like, I think each movie kind of has some advantages over each different one. Like 2014, I think there's a little bit too much cheesing, but you really do feel the sense of weight and scale with the monsters. And there's a lot more like, it's the serious tone really kind of works for that. She was technically more King Ghidorah. Yeah, I mean, they probably could rebuild Mechagodzilla or something. I think humans like invading Hollow Earth, they should probably utilize creating some man-made mechs at some point. I know the GXK like prequel graphic novel, the Hunted or whatever, had some guy going into Hollow Earth like with his own, like Raymond Martin was the character's name, with his own mecha attire, just kind of fighting off other monsters for sport. We could see that, like if governments are going to invade this, that's where you kind of bring in, they're almost like Jaeger like machines, like from Pacific Rim or something, and they just kind of go and fight the other monsters. That'd be something to see too. So, but yeah, so things I can see, like I said, Godzilla needing to be showcasing as a father figure. I really want to explore more of his backstory, kind of like what makes him tick a little bit, like because he is intelligent, he's a lot smarter than a lot of people realize. I mean, Kong is obviously definitely a smarter monster, but I think with Godzilla there's just kind of more that we could just kind of do with his character, because we're not really doing as much with him, where he's kind of stagnant. I know there's all sorts of rules with Toho and all that too, but you could still like tell something, and we could still like explain why he is doing things the way he is. What's saying? Monsters, UBK, GXK. I do love the phones. They're all different in their own way, but that's just my personal ranking. That's a solid ranking, Eric. I still this wish thing. Gigantic Tyrannosaurus time on. Oh, you mean Gorosaurus? That would be fun. If we bring the Jaegers, that would be cool. Yeah, I mean, at some point, you probably could bring in the Jaegers. I know Legendary just did release something Pacific Rim related, like a video game tie-in, and they're just kind of itching to find a means to cross over both IPs, mostly to kind of inject some life into the Pacific Rim universe after Pacific Rim Uprising. If we just had Pacific Rim 1 and Pacific Rim the Black and not Uprising, I feel like that would kind of be more beneficial. But what if the alien invasion is the precursors from that universe? I don't know. It's kind of weird. I kind of like keeping them separate, but I'm sure at some point they'll find some way to integrate them both. Like, because from different universes, everyone's doing the multiverse thing. I would also really love to see Gamera brought involved. I know a few years ago I did a video talking about like what's next for the Monsterverse. And one of the ideas I thought was, why don't we explore space in the Monsterverse? Because we haven't really explored other planets. And I think maybe there's another planet where Gamera's at, and like you have a movie that's kind of the next phase. Let's see. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about, Eric, with the Raymond Martin, or GXK the Hunted. Yeah, they killed off Bryan Cranston way too early. Gamera. Yeah, Gamera, I would love to see Gamera like in a live action film again. If you can find a way to bring Gamera into the Monsterverse, maybe he's like the monster that comes to Earth that's like warning people, or maybe Jet Jaguar is kind of that way. I think that'd be cool as well. Maybe, Gamera was off in space somewhere, saw the threat going to invade Earth, and went to kind of intercept, and that's how he ends up on Earth, and ends in a conflict with Godzilla and all that. But then you see him kind of protecting kids and all that, and trying to be peaceful. I don't think that's been officially stated, Alice. I didn't see the director say that at all. I feel like there'd be more headlines than that. Frankly, we're done with. Yeah, I feel like that, Tevya. We've had so many multiverse stories and all that, and I mean, it's kind of overdone right now. It was kind of cool at first, but it's like now, like with the multiverse, it's basically like infinity. It's like, can't we just kind of stick with just one thing for right now, and like kind of feel the weight of like a specific universe? Because sometimes when you have too much with the multiverse, it kind of weighs the stakes down of various things. So, but yeah, give me a second to breathe. I'm losing my voice here talking so much at once, because when I talk pretty quickly. So I'm just like, I'm on a roll, like boom, 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 boom. So, but yeah. So next movie, like I said, I'll kind of reiterate some of the stuff for those just joining in. I talked about how the next movie should deal with the fallout of Brazil, because which they really just kind of brushed aside, because at least with like something like Romanet, there was a little bit of warning for all the. I'm sure there was some warning ahead of time that there was Titans attacks imminent. But Brazil, they were just minding their own business, and then boom, just destroyed. Like everything just annihilated in an instant. No warnings whatsoever, and just gone. Rio is just decimated by these Titans, and you don't really like see like the destruction like from a human level. So it's kind of just like, that stuff sort of happened. Next movie really needs to kind of get a little bit more tonally serious, I think, and just kind of deal with the fallout of that. Yeah, it's fun, it's entertaining, but like Shimo blasted her ice breath, and it probably killed like hundreds of thousands of people in an instant. With Godzilla, he doesn't attack like a city in that unless he feels a threat in this universe. Like he's not actively doing that. And plus, he just makes Rome his new comfy home. And like he has justifiable reasons in his mind of why he's doing it. Like he's doing things to power up and get stronger and all that. But yeah, Yeah, I think that would be cool too. Like, let's get let's explore these ancient battles at least in comic book form. I know it's expensive with movies and all that, but give me something like that, or give me like a nonverbal like short film or something like that that kind of tells the story of Titans. Give it like make it animated. Like if it's they're all CGI characters anyways for the most part. You could just do like animated and just kind of showcase a lot of that stuff. I think it'd be really cool. So just so many different directions you can go in with this thing. And I feel like we're just kind of just we GXK did a great job showcasing a lot of nonverbal visual storytelling with the monsters. And they really kind of pushed that we could tell these stories without, humans and no dialogue necessary. No, Kong is definitely appearing, Venom Hernandez. I don't see this being a solo Godzilla film. I just don't. I feel like the studio is going to want to have Kong and Godzilla together because together they make a lot of money. Godzilla just had huge success, with -1 in that as well. But having two of them together, it just makes more sense to make more money. That's just the way it's going to be. I don't expect. I think because King of the Monsters underperformed when it did, that's why you probably won't see a solo Godzilla film or a solo Kong film. I know Kong Skull Island made a lot of money as well, but having the two of them together, it just means more money for them. So, and the Monsterverse has been successful because they see things, they always listen to feedback, and they find means to kind of shift the tone or the style or whatnot to kind of make the films stronger, or, appeal to different things. And given the series, there's so much variety in terms of tone and style. I think some things work more than others, but at least they kind of take their time with it. They don't necessarily try to rush things out. It's usually a 2 to 3 year gap, like at most, between movies. The longest gap so far, I mean, you look at the first 2014 film, King of the Monsters, it's a 5-year gap, but the next film in the series was Kong Skull Island, so that was only a 3-year gap between movies. But I mean, a 5-year gap between just Godzilla things, that felt definitely a pretty long one, but we still had something in the series. All right, let's see. Question: how do you think you would go with time travel? No time travel. No. We don't need time travel. I like flashbacks, but time travel just like makes things worse. It messes things up. It over convolutes things, and quite frankly, I feel like it's an easy out for a lot of things. So I wouldn't really want to see time travel in the next Monsterverse movie. You think Kong will keep the Beast Glove? Oh, yeah, Kong is definitely keeping that Beast Glove. I mean, maybe he'll take it off because if he's got to scratch his ass or something, but he's going to keep that Beast Glove when he can because he just kind of went away with it. Or maybe when he's healed, he'll just take it off, or maybe he can kind of put it on when he wants to. But maybe it's just kind of like, okay, you mark my words, Kong is going to get more armor in the next movie probably. He's already got the Beast Glove. They're going to give him 2. They're going to give like his armor, like the little Titan tech. He's going to get a helmet and all that too. He's going to be like Mechanic Kong. Like in this whole like Batman v Superman mech suit or whatever, it's going to happen. Like Kong is going to get his whole fully mechanized suit at some point, but the Beast Glove was just the first part. Now we're going to get more. He's going to have the battle axe and all that, and he's going to basically be like this knight with his armor or some point. I fully expect that at some point. Would love to see Godzilla evolve more. Yeah, I mean, I like the pink that we got going on right here. I think the pink looks pretty cool. But I kind of want to see. I don't think it's going to be a permanent thing, anyways. I would love to see green. I know we've always like, is Godzilla green? Is he not? Because I know a lot of the VHS covers had him like fully green, but he's never really been fully green. I would like to see green atomic breath. I don't think we really had that in any of the live action films, at least to my knowledge. Because I mean, it was always blue. You had red. You had like the red spot or heat ray, reddish orange. You've had purple in Shin Godzilla. You had pink with GXK. I would love to see green at some point. Let's just go all the colors, because yellow I think was technically utilized in Final Wars, if I'm not mistaken. So I like to see green at some point. We've seen white too. Maybe black. I don't know. I feel like black wouldn't stand out as much because he's already like kind of that charcoal gray color. When Godzilla's family was around during his reign time, we still haven't got that. Yes, give us the flashback. Give us the flashbacks. Let's see his character. Because there's so much more you could explore with him. I mean, I know that sometimes the mystery is interesting. You don't always want to know every detail, but I kind of want to know a little bit more. I think if you're going to focus more on his character, let's see why he became the way he did. Let's get a flashback to ancient like Monsterverse times. That's something we haven't had yet. I know we've had flashbacks to the 50s and all that with the different series in that, but let's get a flashback to ancient times within the Monsterverse. Let's see a young Godzilla. We get like maybe kind of like a montage that kind of showcases him over the time, kind of changing, and it kind of tells its own story non-verbally. I think that'd be very effective. Well, we done the underworld there with King Kong, so why not add maybe time travel or alternate realities? I don't know, Tevye. Like the time travel, that just convolutes things so much. Technically, they do play around with time a little bit in Monarch Legacy of Monsters, but it's kind of like an interstellar thing where characters age and some don't at specific times. Kong becomes Jet Jaguar to satisfy those who made the theory Kong was. Oh yeah, that'd be pretty funny too. I personally wish the pink become permanent, at least last one more film, because it would feel like his evolution last film mattered. Yeah, I mean, Godzilla did all this evolving, and it really didn't make too much of a difference. Would you bring? Of course, I would bring in Godzilla's son into the Monsterverse. That's what I wanted for the past like several movies. Godzilla's a dad's been kind of a long-standing thing within like the Godzilla franchise since Son of Godzilla. That's since the 1960s. And there's a lot of stuff he can do with it. It even lasted up to Final Wars. But for whatever reason, we can't get it anymore. And it's really kind of annoyed me. The Heisei era, like one of the big major things about that is when Godzilla's son is brought in. And you see kind of like how emotionally affected he was as a character as a result of that. I know there's rights issues and all that, but come on, bring in the son of Godzilla. We need it. The world wants to see it. We want to see Kaiju Super Sons. Oh, and Titan War flashback. Yes, absolutely. Titan War flashbacks. Let's see it. Wait, question. Who would Godzilla wife be for his son? Well, obviously Godzilla's, I mean, it's kind of headcanon. His wife is Mothra. But, you know, there's other, like, it could have been like an adopted son too. Kind of like how Suka was for Kong. Or it could be like the 98 film. Now, if he reproduces asexually or something like that, but where's the fun in that, right? I mean, you could find, like, maybe the son was kind of trapped in, I like the idea of the sun maybe being trapped in Axis Mundi, like where they visited Monarch Legacy of Monsters, because time is displaced differently. Maybe it escaped to that in ancient times, and because of the time displacement thing, like not much has necessarily passed, given it's like time functions differently there. So, didn't Godzilla's son make Godzilla character not scary? I mean, Godzilla's character has kind of like not really been too scary post the 1954 film, because they kind of go a little bit like, look at King Kong vs. Godzilla. That film goes more tongue in cheek and definitely leans more into the heavily campiness. But, you know, Godzilla kind of shifted more so in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. You see a character evolution in there where it kind of changes from like a full-blown kind of villain to kind of more anti-hero, like heroic, where he has to kind of work with the other monsters and all that too, thanks to Mothra talking. So having a son there actually allows like more out of Godzilla's character. I feel like you could see him kind of grow, like you could see him hug, you can see him kind of being like a teacher of sorts. It kind of gives him more to do than just, I'm going to show up, fight another monster. You get some of those great moments where it's just kind of the two of them, like he's trying to take a nap and the son's just kind of jumping on his tail and kind of being a little bit playful and that. So there's more you can do with that. I mean, Kong and Tsuko had their thing. You can kind of distinct it a little bit with, you know, Godzilla Jr. being a little bit more playful with humans, liking things, just kind of like curious about different stuff and just kind of have fun with it. I think that would really work out in the film's favor. But I really, like I said, I really want to see like more done with Godzilla's character, because the last two films, at least in the Monsterverse, haven't done quite as much as I think they could. So, at least in my humble opinion. So, thanks, Tevye. Okay. How's this going? Yep. Exactly, Tevye. That's what I've been saying for the longest time. Kaiju Super Sons. Kaiju Super Sons would make a crap ton of money. You could sell a ton of merch there. People would love it. I mean, Tsuko was one of the highlights of GXK. He definitely like gets the crap beaten out of him quite a bit. He's used as a club, which is very funny. But I mean, I really loved what they did there. So, all right, cool. I'm trying to think of anything else to say. I'm trying to make this maybe like an hour live stream max, because I'm going to go eat some food after this. I'm kind of hungry, but I definitely want to talk about where the next Monsterverse film could go, and you know, kind of hearing all these different questions and different comments and stuff too. You can always get plushies. Yes, get us the plushies. I want to buy them. I want them. Like, come on, like make some money, Legendary. Like, I mean, you make a ton of money on the merchandise and all that other stuff too. I mean, they do. One of the reasons the series keeps going is due to the toy sales, because the toy sales make a lot of money from what I heard. I wish I could get like hard data facts on like the exact sales of, you know, the toy sales and all that other like external merchandise, but as of right now, I can't seem to really find it. But it would be cool to like see those details. So, trying to think of anything else to say. So yeah, like I said, next movie, Kong as a leader. That's stuff you could explore. Him as a father figure. Maybe finds Lady Kong. Conflict with humans try to take over his territory, and the great apes, even though the great apes were said to be protectors of humanity. Maybe there's a unison there where you have like some other external threats. Maybe Alan Jonah and his group comes back due to all the destruction from the Titans or whatnot. Yeah, the MCU could learn a lot from the Monsterverse these days. I'm sure Deadpool and Wolverine's going to be a big hit, but after that, Avengers will probably make money. But some of the other stuff, I just don't feel the enthusiasm for that universe really as much anymore. I also do think that, you know, the Monsterverse has some pros and cons with the way its world building is gone. On the one hand, they kind of take their time, which is good. But I feel like lately, post, you know, the build up to GVK, there hasn't been anything big they're building up to. They kind of just like take it one thing at a time, which is kind of the way things used to be. But if you're doing a shared universe, you kind of want to like lead into something big to kind of really like ease in like that speculation. Because when, you know, Kong Skull Island, after like 2014 film was announced, they announced a Kong movie, and then they announced Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then they'd eventually cross over in Godzilla vs. Kong. So we kind of had two movies to build up to Godzilla vs. Kong when that movie was coming out. Like that was like the end goal of that first phase of the Monsterverse. But now in this next phase, it's kind of like, okay, we're just kind of doing a little bit of whatever, but they're also still kind of standalone. They're kind of building off the things that they kind of teased in the last movie, but we haven't really like had like, but the movies have kind of complete endings. So in case they don't like, they don't leave like huge sequel bait like at the end of the film, no cliffhangers to kind of like leave you like, oh, now it has to happen. So like if things don't work out, at least they had closure. So I do kind of respect that. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of what else to add. Godzilla's a father figure. I'd like to see man-made Titans in the next movie, and then eventually alien invasions. I don't know if Wingard was going to go with alien invasions next, or man-made Titans is the final thing. But if you're going for a big finale, then alien invasion has to be the next thing. So, I mean, I feel like they still kind of like head of a writer room type to kind of develop ideas of where they want to go, but they're still kind of like, I feel like oftentimes they kind of wing it, and there definitely are some little continuity flubs between the movies and all that too in shows. But for the most part, it is like post King of the Monsters, you kind of felt that a little bit with the shifting tones and like creative changes. I'm sure GVK was very different when it initially was, you know, being tested and all that, given all the changes made to that film. I would love to see all the deleted scenes from that movie. Like that's the one I want to know what that original cut of that film was like. I was Man-Made Titans unless at least no. Man-Made Titans in the sense, Tevya, that they were created kind of like a Biolante was created, where she was like the cells of Godzilla in a plant. Human interference with the environment is basically what kind of creates these other like monsters. That's what I mean by man-made Titans. I don't like Titans and mechs are two different things. So like Mechagodzilla was a mecha. Titans are something else, like organic creatures. That's what I want to see, because we've had King of the Monsters teased the dealing in the market of Titan DNA. That's something I want to see explored more. Or maybe Monarch Season 2 will kind of dive more into that. I don't know. But I feel like that market is something that really needs to be like. There was a lot of interesting ideas and setups that movie had that haven't necessarily paid off just yet. And I want to see more of that. So, yes, Godzilla needs to find his son. He's been a big lonely guy for a long time, and maybe it'll mellow him out a little bit. And plus, like I said, having, you know, Godzilla's son who's more of a friend to humanity, having a different personality, I think would work quite a bit. So, you know, Godzilla Jr. or Minya, very playful, very kid-like, and likes people generally, and people kind of like Minya. Like, I mean, some fans are kind of mixed, divisive on Minya or even Junior, but I always love Godzilla being a dad. I thought it added more to his character. We get to see a different side of him, being kind of a mentor, father figure, a little bit more of a softer side. Yeah, something crazy, like just something created, like Destroya created in the fallout of humanity experimenting with different weapons, or just something like that. I want like another monster to be the next monster to be a big, huge threat, kind of similar to what Indominus Rex was in Jurassic World, where it was just kind of killing for sport. I like the idea of just this monster that just has like I like the idea of a monster that's just a huge threat, that's not an ancient rival, just kind of killing things for sport almost, and just something that just has you feel a sense of dread whenever it's on screen. Like, I want a scene similar to what we got in -1, where Godzilla launches atomic breath in Ginza for the first time, and you just have like that cloud of like the almost like a nuclear explosion fall that just wipes everything out in its path. I want a scene like that, but with this next big bad monster that just kills everything on sight, and you get this really dark, dreadful, like kind of moment of destruction and despair. And like you can do that with another monster, but like this is what humanity has done. Like they created something because they have this need to kind of be in control, but like there's also some understandable reasons, because these monsters are out there, they're trying to survive too. And I think there's some interesting stuff you can kind of do with that, like kind of messing around with like powers beyond their comprehension. And I think that would be kind of cool. Like I think just the fallout of all that and just kind of like the interesting stuff there would be neat as well. I also want more scenes like the Goodbye Old Friend scene in King of the Monsters, where it's like Godzilla and Serizawa. Serizawa has this final moment with Godzilla. That's my favorite scene in the Monsterverse. Like, if you want to know my favorite scene in the whole series so far, it's that one scene. Bear McCreary's score is excellent. Ken Watanabe's acting in that scene is really, really good. And it has like a lot of weight and like meaning to it. It's a nice role reversal of the 1954 original film. But, it comes at a cost, but there's kind of this really kind of nice, tender moment. And like, I got choked up seeing that in the theater for the first time, because I just thought that scene was so well handled. And I'd like more scenes like that. That's kind of like what I'm getting at. I want more scenes like that in like the next film. So, yeah. Secondly, had a human turn into kaiju, but also badass amazing. Yeah, I gotta watch Kaiju number 8. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I do plan on checking it out at some point soon. So, but yeah, I feel like I've kind of like said all I really need to say. Yeah, that's what I was like saying earlier, Tevye, with like Alan Jonah and that showing up at some point. So, trying to think where else we could go from here. Maybe more mechanized armor for Kong. Maybe Godzilla gets his own upgrades. Maybe the return of Rodan. Yeah, like where the hell has Rodan been since King of the Monsters? He just said defeated at the beginning of GVK and never heard any like follow up to that again or anything whatsoever. Like, is Rodan just kind of chilling in the mountains, like this volcano mountain somewhere, or what? Like, why don't we get more of Rodan? Like, he just disappeared. Mothra at least had the excuse, okay, Mothra died, but then was somehow brought back in GXK in kind of a way I still don't fully understand. But who cares? Mothra's back. But Rodan just kind of off napping somewhere. Would like to see him again, but because he did bow to Godzilla, maybe he kind of follows him along as his little ally and stuff. I'd like to see Rodan meet Kong and all that. When Mothra showed up in that one scene with Godzilla and Kong together, that was a really cool moment because it's something a lot of fans have been waiting for a really long time, just to see those three on screen together. And I wish it went on a little bit longer. Like, it feels like it's abruptly kind of short. Give it another like 10 seconds of that scene. I think that would have been great. Oh, you mean like Batra? Tevye, it's funny because the original, like one of the post-credit scenes that was storyboarded for King of the Monsters, actually the Mothra twins do exist in the Monsterverse. Dr. Chen and her sister are the Mothra twins. That's what they were supposed to be. They were supposed to, like, at the end of the film and a post-credit scene, go climbing down into like some cavern and find Mothra's egg and just kind of sing to it. And I guess they were in like one of the, what I heard was the original GVK. Like, she was originally supposed to be Zhang Zi, or whatever the actress was in King of the Monsters, and originally in GVK before she was cut, was supposed to be in like an end credits bit where they're kind of teasing the next movie. So I don't know where she's at in the universe, but a lot of stuff got changed going into GVK. So the Mothra twins do exist. Now we have Gia, who's not really a Mothra twin, kind of bringing Mothra. I don't know how I feel about that fully, but because like it's cool to give Gia something to do, but at the same time I kind of like having the Mothra twins. I feel like kind of ignoring stuff. That's where like a lot of this conflicting stuff kind of comes into play, and you just kind of wonder, like, maybe, no, so I don't exactly know. So, but yeah. All right. Well, I feel like we're getting towards like the end right here. Anybody have any other like speculations or questions where they think the next MonsterVerse movie could go? I don't really do. I haven't done a live stream in a minute. Like, when was the last one I did? I feel like I've lost track. But let's. Oops. Nope. No. Nope. Let's go. Let's see when the last live stream I did was. 3 months ago. Wow, I just did GXK spoiler talk. I don't do live streams enough. I really need to do more. Since it's confirmed that Shimo froze Ghidorah, how do you feel about it, and how do you feel their confrontation went down? Personally, think Godzilla and Ghidorah fought, and Shimo froze the loser. I think that's probably close to what it was, because like that's where it gets kind of confusing, because like there's a lot of back and forth about that. Like, okay, Shimo froze Ghidorah in Antarctica. That seems more believable than Godzilla fighting Ghidorah and Ghidorah falling into the ice and kind of freezing or something. It's kind of one of those things, because we didn't see it really happen. It's kind of all like hearsay, because I know Mike Doherty was like, oh yeah, Godzilla and Ghidorah fought in ancient times, and Ghidorah like was frozen with all that. I mean, that it makes sense for something like Shimo to do, but with Shimo freezing Ghidorah, like what did Godzilla and Shimo do? They just go their separate ways. Maybe I think I'm trying to think of it. Like I like the idea of Shimo freezing. Like Godzilla was fighting them, and Shimo kind of came in to kind of freeze and knock Ghidorah, and then maybe Godzilla and Shimo went their separate ways. There was an access point into Hollow Earth. Perhaps Shimo went back down there, and that's where Scar King kind of came in and took over Shimo, and that's what kind of led to the Ancient Titan War. Because Godzilla fights Shimo, but like once he kind of sees, but he knows that Shimo is kind of under duress, so he doesn't really just destroy her outright like he does other Titans, because he kind of like see she was controlled a bit, but he still had to kind of fight because the crystal was there. But once she was kind of free and he saw that she like froze the Scar King, he just left her be. So I think he understood right then and there like what was going on. So I like to theorize that, but I think Shimo kind of helped Godzilla in that fight. So, but we'll never know unless they do flashbacks. Because that'll be fun. Yeah, one of these days we'll definitely do one, Tevya. How you doing, Shark King? Welcome into the stream. I'm kind of getting close to wrapping things up and all that too. So, but there. Oh, the only thing I want to see in the next movie is return of Toho music with some. Yes. Oh my God. How did I not bring this up? We need Godzilla's theme back. I think that was another thing that I think Grant's going to bring that back, because it just felt absent the last two movies. You bring Bear McCreary's score in King of the Monsters was just so freaking good, and the fact that we just didn't really get more of it afterwards, it just felt like just really kind of sad. Because like we finally got the theme music back, and in the next movie, it's like, here we go from Bear McCreary to Junkie XL. Like that is like a huge downgrade. Now I like some of the music in the two Wingard films, like some of the score, but compared to like Bear McCreary's work, it's like night and day. It's not even close. I like his stuff for Kong. Like his Godzilla theme, it's like kind of just like it feels like a bootleg Godzilla theme almost. Like why did we like lose it when we got something else? I just don't understand that. How you doing, Togera Godzilla? It's a cool name. I would also return Mecha Godzilla, or maybe bringing in Mecha King Ghidorah would be fun. Yeah, I would like to see more mechas utilized. Jet Jaguar would be one I'd like to see as well. Maybe he's built by humans. Maybe he's like an alien thing that kind of comes to Earth to kind of warn people of the exilians. Oh, that's your in. Jet Jaguar. Like, I love Jet Jaguar. Jet Jaguar is one of my favorite creations in the series. I want him back in another movie. He was great in Singular Point, probably the best part of that series, with its confusing science babble and all that too. I need to rewatch Singular Point at some point, because the plot of it just kind of goes over my head, because I was like, you kind of get the idea, okay, monster fighting here, but like the science babble and all that stuff just kind of, you lose track of it after a while. But Jet Jaguar was awesome in that. Yeah, I mean, it would be cool to kind of get that type of music. Like the classic theme music is something absolutely needs to come back in the next thing. I'm surprised I didn't mention that earlier, but I think Grant is going to bring it back for the next film. I especially after how good the score was for King of the Monsters. I mean, they already got the rights to utilize it. I'm sure it can't be that hard to bring them back at some point, but imagine like the impact a lot of those scenes would have if we had their classic music in it. Even like in GXK, like Mothra's theme is probably the best bit of music in GXK, but it's still not quite that. Guys, that reminds me what happened in that Godzilla because that show was 10 times better than the anime trilogy. Yeah, the anime trilogy is the only like in terms of Godzilla properties, like I just don't like the anime trilogy at all. And I have tried countless times to get into it, but I just can't. I've tried way too often, and every time I get to it, I'm just like I just can't enjoy it. Wait, what? Okay, I'm kind of confused what you're commenting on. Where did you hear there? Well, I didn't hear it for sure, but I think based on some of the comment section of like his the one director's Instagram post, one of the comments was talking about bringing back Godzilla's music, and he kind of liked the post about it. So I don't know for sure if they're bringing it back. So just it's not a for sure thing, but I think the director is probably going to want to bring it back. There's a call when Godzilla became John Wick or the Indians type of action heroes, kick butt and take names. There's a Godzilla. I mean, Godzilla's. I mean, you count like Final Wars. He just wipes everything out in his path. I would love for Megalon to appear in the Hollow Earth to fight Kong, axe for a drill. That'd be kind of cool. The anime films and series, they have interesting ideas, they just don't utilize them. Yeah, like the anime trilogy, especially, like it took so much from like the whole Shin Godzilla like discussion of philosophical like whatever. The anime trilogy is just not good. Godzilla is like it's a bad. I don't think it's a good adaptation of Godzilla. It's not a good take on it. I mean, I understand Godzilla is very versatile in a lot of things, but it's just so boring. He's just so slow, barely moves around, barely has much of a personality or anything like that. Doesn't really do. There's like one or two cool scenes, and then it's just like the animation's kind of ugly looking. The characters are not likable. Like Metfees or whatever just never shuts up, and if I had to hear one more philosophical line of dialogue, I was going to throw up. I just got so tired. So same here. What the heck are all the spoiler discussion of that anime trilogy? That was fun, but the anime trilogy just, it wasn't. Oh, that's right. I forgot we did do a spoiler discussion. To see what I mean? Like I've been on so many live streams and done that over the years that I just kind of forget of like what I've talked about at some point. Like I forget like a lot of the stuff I do or like interactions, because when you have so many online, it just all kind of molds like blends together. I'll say you're welcome, Shark King. It's very bad at changing guys on the Monster. Yeah. So, but yeah, anime trilogy, not a fan. Not a fan at all. And it's not for lack of trying. I even tried again this past year when I was watching all the Godzilla and Kong movies leading up to the new Empire. I just could not get into it, and it was a struggle. I'm glad my friend Mothra Mystic, aka Nikki, who's been on the channel before, was able to kind of sit and kind of watch the third movie with me. So I wasn't actually alone, but like watching all three of them back to back, I was like, I just can't do it anymore. I just can't. I also did the stream on Kaiju Network's channel that one time where we watched all three. It was like a day or something. We watched all three anime films, and we were just so defeated by the end of it. Like it was genuinely pretty funny. Like I was very proud of doing that one. So let me see where Kaiju Network's at. He did finally like make a video again. I was happy to see him kind of come back to something after being away for quite a while. So it was a lot of fun to do. Let me see where we had it. Sorry, I'm just kind of looking for something to see if we had another movie commentary. When did we do the last movie commentary? It was a few years ago that we did one of those things. Oh yeah, we did these 3 years ago. We did a suffer along, as we called it. Let me look at the date and time. August 28th, 2020 is when we did that. Yeah, I don't like the King Ghidorah adaptations. Would be great if they did a War of the Monsters movie based on the PS2 games and Toilet Instrument. Yeah, it'd be kind of cool for sure. The more monster movies, the better. I mean, we've been in a kaiju renaissance. We are really spoiled as, kaiju tokusatsu fans in today's day and age. Because I like to think, think back to that, like that 10-year gap where it was like nothing. Cloverfield, like from after post like Final Wars or Game of the Brave World, like here in the States, we got nothing. Like absolutely nothing. We had Pacific Rim after a long hiatus, which was awesome. We had like pretty much since Pacific Rim, we've gotten some sort of like giant monster, like creature feature thing like every single year since then. You got Pacific Rim, you got the 2014 Godzilla. I technically would count Jurassic World in that mix for like 2015. 2016, you had, Shin Godzilla, which got a release here in the States. 2017 Kong Skull Island. 2018 I think was Rampage, and like movies like The Meg and all that. 2019 King of the Monsters. 2020, I think that's when COVID and that hit, but I think we still had other stuff. Like 2021 was GVK, and then 2022, 23, 24, and all like these other monster creature features and stuff like that. So we've definitely gotten some stuff for sure post them, but we had a long gap. Have you ever heard the Goji fan? Well, Goji Fan 93, I actually did talk to Goji. I was on a live stream once with Goji Fan 93, I believe. Like, I'm not familiar with Rambo Raft for Life, because I remember, like, there was a podcast recording with Kaiju Network. We were both kind of on the same thing, and I did, like, speak briefly with Goji Fan 93 before. And I used to watch some of his videos back in the day, but then he kind of left, and then I think he started a new channel. But, like, he had, like, the most subs at one point in the Godzilla fandom. But I think, sometimes we were, like, have that much, there's a lot more pressure, and you kind of just want to just be a fan and not kind of be so much into it because there's all this crazy back and forth stuff with it. But I like Goji 93 Fan 93 stuff a lot, so he was very nice when I got the chance to talk to him. And as terms of Rambo Raft for Life, I'm not familiar with that username. I'll have to check it out after the video show. Oh yeah, we did get Meg 2, which I was so disappointed by Meg 2. Because, like, watching the trailers, I'm like, okay, this could be the ridiculous, dumb, fun Meg movie I wanted. And it was for, like, the last 10 minutes. But up before that, we had all the Camp and Planet villains and all that stuff. And I just audibly groaned in the theater. But, like, the last 10 minutes when you have dinosaurs and that eating people, I like that. I like that quite a bit. But the rest of the movie up to then, yeah. The first Meg movie was better. So, Rambo Raft for Life is a movie review. Okay, yeah, I'll look into their stuff after. I'll just check it out. Let's see, find their channel. Rambo Raft for Life. Okay, got like 24,000 subs. Okay. Oh, I thought it was. Yeah, I'll check out some of the stuff later on. Well, the first Meg is like about a prehistoric shark, but the Meg 2 brings in like other sea creatures. Like there's a kraken, there's all these little dinosaurs that come out and start eating people. Like the opening scene is like, if I remember, like a T-Rex getting eaten by a megalodon shark. So there's dinosaurs in that in the Meg 2, but like the Meg is still a prehistoric shark in the first movie, but second movie they go a little bit like crazier with it in some ways. But like I wish he went further. Yep, it's just a giant shark movie, and it still made a lot of money. So I think we are actually getting Meg 3. Okay. All right. Let me check on the Meg 2 and 3 really quickly. But yeah. A quick question. Does everyone think that we're going to get another Godzilla movie before the next Monsterverse film, or do you think it's probably best to just take a little bit of a breather? The Meg 2, The Trench. Yeah, Meg 2 made a lot of money. Like it cost less than the first movie, but it made like nearly like $400 million. Yeah, so in July 2023, Wheatley said there had been internal discussions about potential third installment. Its development depends on the success of the trend. She hopes the novel 3. Yeah, I'm reading about it. So yeah, it seems like they're going to probably come back for it. Jason Statham, he's Statham, so always enjoyable when he does his things. But yeah, Meg 2, nearly $400 million. That's insane. Yeah, that's why I think the 3-year gap is fine because we're still going to get stuff in between. We'll get Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2, which will come out probably next year. But we got so much Godzilla stuff since like November. We had -1, we had Monarch, we had some comic book stuff, and then we had the new Empire in like a short amount of like time. And that's the most Godzilla like you've ever gotten in such a short amount of time. So I'm okay with waiting a little bit. I think like taking a breather is okay. We get excited for the next thing. I mean, we're just kind of like, I'm good for right now. I can wait a little bit more. So I am looking forward to what they do next, but the hype will start to kick in a little bit later on. So maybe on that, like, see, go to -1. Yeah, maybe. Cool. Well, I think I'm going to get ready to wrap this thing up. Super Energetic Learn from the Monsterverse. Yes, exactly. Like, take a break. DC ending its universe like last year and taking like this year off, I think is a good thing. And that too. So, but yeah, all right. Quick final questions. I'm gonna wrap this thing up. I hear dogs barking and all that, so I'm gonna have to take care of that. Make kids a lot of money for a new Meg movie, just like Jurassic World. Where do we go with -1? I like the idea of -1, basically kind of taking the ending of Shin Godzilla and -1, kind of fusing into one. So Noriko has the little patch on her neck at the end of -1, where she's like in a Godzilla, like an infection's almost spreading through her body. Have it basically be like the Fly, where Jeff Goldblum like human turns into a fly, human hybrid monster. Have her turn into like a humanoid Godzilla and just have like this plague across the land. That'd be messed up, but it would be kind of cool. That's where I go with the sequel. So, but yeah. All right. Well, I feel like I've kind of said what I need to say about where I think the next Monsterverse movie will go. I was originally going to record something smaller, but I think doing this live stream was just a lot easier because I'm like, it's going to take forever to edit, and I just don't want to right now. But where do you think the next movie will go? Do you think it'll be more serious? Do you think the next movie will be alien invasions? Do you think the next movie is going to be human-made threats? Post your comments down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit the bell for notifications, other fun stuff. Thank you all so much for joining me on this live stream. Next time I'll have to bring somebody else in with me, but I had a lot of fun. It's good to get back in this after every so months. I need to do at least like one live stream a month. Oh wait, quick final question: do you think cross-training film with the Monsterverse and the DC? Oh yes, that's right. Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong was an amazing comic book miniseries. I think we should get a sequel to that in some capacity in comic book form. If not, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I think an animated film adaptation of that would do gangbusters. So that would be awesome. Yeah, maybe they'll cross over at some point. Monsterverse has already kind of dived into the multiverse now that I think about it. So, but yeah, I really want to see that. I think that'd be really cool. But yeah. All right. Well, that's all I have to say. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Like and subscribe. Share the video with some people. Like some help spread the word on this thing. Let's get more people talking about Godzilla x Kong 3 or whatever they end up calling the thing, Godzilla x Kong sequel, and all that other fun stuff. But I had a really fun time. And I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out, everyone. Thanks for joining.